everybody, what's up, and welcome back to another episode of Pursuing Purpose. I think this is episode 5. Lost count, I think, because they've been going so good. It's been so much fun. Episode 5, though, and I'm joined today by my mom.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, Jennifer, good old Jenny Green over here, Jennifer. So I'm joined by my mom in honor of Mother's Day that's coming up on Sunday, very close around the corner. I've actually had this idea for a while. Even before I started this, I was like, I want to have my mom on no matter what. But I was like, Mother's Day would be a perfect opportunity. You know, time, Mother's Day, all that kind of stuff. So very excited to have you on, Mom.
I'm excited to be here. I'm a little bit nervous.
Yeah, it is kind of nerve-wracking when you're in the chair.
Like, you do such a good job, but then Macy and Christian and Jordan and Blake have all just knocked it out of the park. So let's say this. They set the bar high. So
right? No, literally when my mom, I love it because every single Friday at 10 o'clock. She tunes into the premiere of the videos. So she's a real one. She's an OG. She supports me. And so literally we were watching Blake's episode. Yes. I appreciate that. We were watching Blake's episode. Girl said, okay, you set the bar too high with this one. I cannot be on your podcast now.
It has gotten better every time. Yeah. And then today you get me. So there's that.
Yeah. So be prepared, guys. It's going to be a great episode. No, for real. I'm really excited to have you on. Obviously, if you can't tell, we're very much identical, basically. I've been told we look alike, I guess.
I don't see it.
I don't. That's what people have said. I don't see too much of a resemblance, though.
You look like my clone, and you act like my clone.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I don't see it.
Okay. Well, anyways, moving on. So we're gonna start off with just some fun icebreaker questions. It'll kind of get the nerves out a little bit, just some fun questions. So, what is your favorite? I would say, since we're talking about kind of Mother's Day, let's talk about your favorite childhood memories from kind of growing up.
That's a good one.
Memories.
Oh man,
I'm sure there's a lot.
Yeah. Do I have to just give one?
No, you can't. No? If you have a few in mind, you can do whatever you want.
I don't know. I had a great childhood growing up, and I would say my top, I can't narrow it down to just one, but I remember growing up every Friday night. My mom made us sit down at the dinner table.
And y'all lived in Panama City, Florida.
Yes. I grew up in Panama City, Florida.
Let's talk about that, your background a little bit, too.
So I'm not from Tennessee. I'm from Panama City. And I came here when I married John, my husband, Daniel's dad.
Shout out Johnny boy.
Yes. Hello.
Shout out John.
Yes. Love, honey. And we'll actually be married on the 15th for 24 years. Wow. Can you believe that? That's crazy.
Guys.
Next year we have our silver anniversary. That's insane.
Let's give snaps for that. That's pretty awesome, man. 24 years and then 25 years. That's crazy.
Can you believe it?
And Kaylee will graduate. Literally all in the same week, pretty much.
And it feels like we got married yesterday.
Yeah. That's what it's supposed to be like, though.
It is. The love. It is. And it has been amazing. I have to say, I have been blessed.
Absolutely,
I have been blessed.
Yeah.
But with my childhood, my mom made us sit down to dinner every night.
Yeah.
You had to sit down at the dinner table. We didn't eat on the road, going out to get McDonald's or something. That was a rare occasion and a big treat,
Yeah.
So on Friday nights, we would have Pizza Hut pizza.
You told us about this. We kind of started something like that.
Yes.
We do
and
pizza
then
sometimes.
That was the one night, all my friends would be over, all my brother's friends. Our house was the hangout. And so everybody would be over and we would get to eat Pizza Hut pizza.
Yeah.
And sit in the living room and watch TGIF. Now, I know you don't know what that is, but TGIF was all the best TV shows. Yeah. And it was Thank Goodness It's Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And so it was Full House all the best stuff, and Fresh Prince and all these great shows. So that was the one night we didn't have to sit at the table. We got to sit. But I remember that. But I also remember all of our like family dinners. I look back at the time, I was like, why do I have to sit at the table? But now I'm I'm so thankful for that time. And my summers, we would go to Louisiana. That's where my daddy was from. And that's some of my favorite childhood memories. Going and spending the summers with my grandparents and my aunt and uncle and my cousins and just being in the country. They lived out in the country, so we got away from the city and the beach, and it was the complete opposite of what I was used to. So and we would chase lightning bugs and go crawdad fishing and
Get them crawdads.
Yes, you take a piece of bacon, put it on a string, drop it in a hole.
Shoot, I've never done that.
I know.
Yeah, you've deprived me.
You've been deprived.
It's fine, whatever.
I know. Whatever. And then I would say Christmases at Meemaw's house.
Yeah.
Like, you may remember some of those. You had a couple, but
some,
like
we never like actually spent Christmas at.
Yes,
but like we would go around the holidays.
At the holidays,
yeah.
and she would always decorate for you guys. But like Christmas was a big deal to her,
Yes.
and so the whole family would come over. And she has this little 2-bedroom house, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, tiny little house.
That'll forever be my favorite home on this entire planet.
Yes, mine too. Mine too. And her front porch, and I'd spend the night with her and get up, and she'd be sitting every morning on her front porch with her coffee and her Bible. Like
forever will be my favorite place on this entire planet.
Yes. I wish we could go back.
I know.
But like Christmas is in her living room with all my cousins, and like we just all pile in there and opening gifts, and like the wrapping paper would be over our heads. It was crazy. I would say probably though, maybe my favorite memories were going to every weekend we would go out to Shell Island.
Yes,
and I know you've been there. We've taken you, and we would go, and my aunt and uncle would go, and we'd spend all day out at the island.
Yeah.
But before we get on the boat, like when my dad, my uncle, and my brothers were putting the boats in and stuff, they were loading everything. My Aunt Pat would take us into the little bait house there.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yes, which is why our shed has decorated the way that it is up by the pool, because we went in this little bitty bait shop, and she would always buy us either like a Mickey Mouse head pop, ice cream, or a push pop, and that was like our special treat. And so that is why our shed is decorated like that, because that's kind of what that bait shop looked like. Oh my gosh! Out where we would put
I'm in my feels right now,
and so.
I'm in my feels right now, because those memories make me so happy. Because I've only gotten a taste of that, because obviously I didn't grow up there.
Yes.
But y'all have done really good about like trying to give us some of that. But that's just really, really cool.
You spent a lot of time in Panama City, but tried to take you to all the places.
Yes, and we've been to most of the places. Yeah. Like y'all were like pretty big out there too. Like your family and stuff.
Yes.
Like y'all knew everybody.
Yes.
So man, that's awesome. Okay, what did you want to be when you grew up? Do you remember that? Like when you were little, what did you want to be when you got to like this age?
I always wanted to be a teacher.
Really? Oh, well,
I did. Like
basically.
I know, basically, and
So you've accomplished that goal.
I would like line all my baby dolls up. And I would teach, and like I had my own little chalkboard hanging on my closet door. That's cute. And I did it so much I had a parakeet. I don't know if you've ever heard Grammy tell this story, but she was at home one day cleaning. She was home from work, and she's cleaning around the house, and she heard somebody say, "Now class."
Oh wait, I think you have.
And she was like, she knew she was there by herself. It was my bird. Terrifying. My bird. Parakeets that aren't supposed to talk.
Oh my gosh.
And it would and then it would repeat the lesson, because I had done it so much with my baby dolls.
Now class.
So I wanted to be a teacher.
That's fun. So apparently I didn't remember what I wanted to be, right? Apparently according to my preschool graduation thing, I wanted to be in WNBA.
Yes, you did.
Apparently I wanted to be
basketball player. Always.
Obviously that dream has come true. I'm currently pursuing I'll be in the draft next year probably. So that's we're working on that goal, but I just thought that was funny. One more icebreaker. What is like your ultimate, like, what would be like your ultimate family vacay? So like, if you could go on like any trip with our family or like plan a trip, like where would you go? What would we do?
Ooh, I don't know. That's hard. That's a hard one. That's a really hard one. Of course, like Disney's classic.
Disney World is very classic.
It's classic.
Been many times.
And we've been and we love it.
We haven't gone on like a real Disney trip in a long time.
It has been a while. We've been on cheer trips, but not really.
Yeah, like Kaylee's
Disney
Cheer
vacation.
Nationals is in Disney World, but we would only like be able to go to the park like one day or something, or like only
Disney's classic.
Spend time together for like one day.
I think maybe going to the Mediterranean.
Ooh.
Like Rome and Pompeii and
not on a cruise though.
No, not on. I think I would want to like fly in and then like tour. Yes, maybe not on a cruise ship.
Yeah, somewhere tropical.
Somewhere different. Or Bora Bora. Bora Bora is gorgeous. Like pictures of Bora Bora.
Yeah.
Just a week, away, just us.
Right.
No real agenda, just laid back, making memories.
I like having an idea of like what we could do. Yes. But like I don't want it to be like,
real agenda.
No like real agenda. Yeah. Like not like super strict about like we have to do this at this time, but just kind of being really chill. That would be really fun. Let's make it happen, okay?
I know. Now that you girls are going to be adults or you are an adult.
I am an adult.
Kaylee graduates this year.
Yeah, I know. She'll be fine. All right, so we are just gonna jump straight in and talk about kind of what is the most important lesson that you think you've learned from your mother.
From my mom, from Grammy.
From Grammy.
I think there are 3 things that, and they kind of go hand in hand. Prayer.
Yes.
Unconditional love and open communication. And when I say that, like praying about everything.
Yeah.
These are the lessons I've learned of things that I use in my own motherhood, like being your mom and Kaylee's mom and raising you guys and praying about everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
From, your friends and your godly role models and your future husband and your right now, the things that you're facing right now or even as you were little, and just how important praying about every area of your life is.
Yes.
Like even the little things.
Absolutely.
Also unconditional love. Like I knew, and I've always known with my mom, no matter what I was going through or what I did, she was going to love me no matter what. Like I could come to her and I could share my deep, dark secrets and I could tell her things that I had done or, and I knew no matter what, she was going to love me.
Yeah.
Like she might not be happy with me in that moment and she would let me know, but she was going to love me no matter what. And she was a safe place for me. But also in that, we had open communication. Like I could talk to my mom and dad about anything. Like no subject was off limits. And that was so good for me. Like as a kid, I knew I could go with these hard topics and they weren't going to look at me and be like, oh my God, we don't talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, a lot of parents are like, we don't talk about the hard things. We don't talk about sex or, those things. But I knew with like my parents, I could go to them with anything.
Absolutely.
And so I've tried to be that way with you girls. And keeping open communication and letting you come and talk and not being judgmental and like keeping my face in check when you ask the tough questions.
Right.
And it's like, don't make a face, even though on the inside I'm like, I'm not ready to talk about that just yet.
Yeah.
But, talking about it on your level at that moment in your life, whatever age you were.
Yeah.
And, because look, I could talk to you about it.
I was just about to say that.
Yes. I could talk.
Right.
Or you're going to go to your friends or the computer.
Because I was going to say that, like, either way, we're going to find out about everything. I mean, y'all know kids talk and it's...
Well, and this is what I find too. And
it's better to mess up and to go to you, to your parents and, to a safe place and mess up and talk, and even just talk about those things in your home with people you can trust and will give you good advice and like biblical,
That's right.
stances in your faith and stuff rather than like getting worldly.
And you're going to do it. And if I shut you down and I'm like, well, I don't want to talk about that or no, we don't talk about that. That's going to make you go, why?
Yeah. And then
that is going to trigger, kids are curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to trigger in your mind, why will my mom not talk to me? And you're either going to get on this computer and you're going to be like, Google, or you're going to go to your friend.
Right.
Or, the wrong person. And ask about things. And I would rather have that open communication and we're able to talk about it. And then we can pull it up from a biblical standpoint or, whatever, and answer those questions for you rather than the world giving you advice. Because the world's going to tell you who you are, whether I want them to or not.
Right.
And if I don't have that open line of communication and you're not safe to come to mom and dad, you are going to go somewhere to find out that information.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Well, and if we don't, if you as a parent, if you don't show your child who they are, the world
that's right.
And if you don't show them who Jesus is, the world is going to show them everything he is not.
That's right.
And
so it is so important that
to have those hard conversations and be open and be a safe place. Because and I've truly felt that with you. We've had hard conversations. We've had even things that like we fight. When we fight, we fight.
Yes, we fight.
We fight pretty good, actually, pretty hard. That's I mean, in a joking way, I'm like, when we fight, we fight. We do fight, but like we always know that like we love each other no matter what. And literally the next day we'll come to each other and be like, "Look, I'm sorry.
We fight.
What I said was wrong." That
right?
Kind of
we do, and
absolutely.
We fight because we are so much alike.
We are it's crazy how much alike we are. It's absolutely
what button
wild.
To push and just when to push it to push me over the edge, and vice versa.
Yeah,
but we do have that open communication. It doesn't happen often, but we do. But then we also, and there have been times I've had to come to you and say, hey, you know, that got heated and I said some things I'm not proud of. And so I've had to apologize and, you know, and ask your forgiveness. And the same thing with Kaylee.
Yeah.
And I think also with that open communication is, I've had to learn to navigate that with different stages and seasons in life. Like when you were younger and you would ask questions, you wanted answers. But now, a lot of times, you don't need my answers. You need a sounding board.
Yeah.
Like for you and your sister, you don't need a lot of talk. Don't talk to me, but let me talk to you. And then you answer. Yeah, just you need someone to listen.
Right.
And to chime in when you need something.
And that's what something me and Blake talked about last time is like listening speaks louder than speaks louder than words, honestly.
And it's hard.
And sometimes you just need somebody to sit and listen to you about, and then and obviously chime in when needed. And it is hard to just sit there and listen when like you're like, man, I have so much I could say right now, kind of thing. You know, but sometimes it is more important to just sit there and listen. And
it is, and I've had to learn that balance because like when you were little, you did need my words. You needed me to tell you things. But now when you come, I know sometimes I want to fix it. Like I want to jump in and I want to make it right, and I want to tell you exactly what to do because been there, done that. But at the same time, I have to like stop. And I know we've had that struggle where you're like, Mom, I really don't want to hear what you have to say. Like, I just need you to listen and love me. Like, and then you can give me an answer. Exactly. But like right now, I just need you to listen. Yeah. And so, because I'm wordsy, I like to talk. And so sometimes I'm too much. Yes. And so I've had to learn to navigate that. But also in that open communication, like as you've gotten older, I spent a lot of time praying when you were little. This goes right back to the prayer and unconditional love, and praying specifically for your godly friends and role models. And knowing there was going to come a day that I was not going to be your hero. Like I was not going to be the one that knew everything. Like there was going to come a day that you're like, okay, my mom's the dumbest person on the planet. Like, you know, because every kid goes through that. But in those moments,
and we're not there yet, you know, it's still coming.
I know. Thank goodness.
You're not the dumbest person. You're not quite the dumbest person in my life yet. No, I'm just kidding.
But like in those moments, I needed to know that God was going to provide people that were going to point you back to Him and give you the same answer that I would have given. And I know that there are times you've come to me and you're like, oh yeah, that's the same thing Jordan said, or you know, that's what Blake said, or you know, or that's what Pastor Bryce said.
And like the good thing is like whenever, and you've raised me to be like to do that, to like you have been that role model, that mentor for so long, and now that I have other people in my life, I go to them for sounding advice too. But usually you're all saying the exact same things, which is obviously God just like speaking to me.
Yeah, and I mean, I know, you know there were times too you've come to me and you're like, well, I'm going to see what Kevin says or McKenzie or whatever, you know, like different people I'm going to see, and then you'll come back and say they said the same thing, you know. Yeah. But I know you've got people, and Kaylee's got people that you guys can go to with the hard topics, or even if there are times, and I know there have been times you've gone to others first, then you come to me second, and that's natural as you're growing and you're spreading your wings and gaining that independence.
The funny thing with Kaylee, I literally go to Kaylee with everything. She's probably the only person in my life I literally tell every single little thing to.
And that's brave, because Kaylee's going to give you black and white facts. And she doesn't necessarily filter how it's going to sound.
She does not filter.
When it comes out of her mouth.
But yeah, I
love her. Right. Love her. And everybody needs a Kaylee.
And everyone needs a Kaylee. And I go to her for everything. And she's younger than me. She's not like been through everything. She's not an adult. She doesn't have a job, that kind of stuff. But like, I mean, but everything she says makes so much sense. I'm like, everything you're saying makes so much sense right now. How are you such a genius? Yeah. Like,
well, she's special. You know? Like Kaylee has always seen the world and heard the world different than anybody I know. Like her perspective on things.
Like, y'all don't even know. She's amazing.
Her perspective on things is just it's so different and special.
And a lot of people don't know that because she's not very. She doesn't like attention. She hates being on stage. She hates all that kind of stuff.
Complete opposite of
Very opposite of me. But she's probably...
Which that goes right back to...
smarter than me, honestly.
That goes right back to prayer, because when we prayed for y'all to be so different because we didn't want you, knowing you're both going to be girls, you know, to be arguing. And because when you're into something, say you're into sports, one is naturally going to be a little stronger than the other. Yeah. And we didn't want that. And I mean... sometimes you need to be careful what you pray for, because you guys are as different as night and day. And that's difficult sometimes, like in parenting that, because you and I are so much alike, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But Kaylee is so different to me. Like, she's the complete opposite.
Yeah, she is.
And so sometimes...
She's also a problem sometimes as far as arguing goes. You know?
Yeah, because sometimes... Like, I know how
how do I navigate this?
How to parent you.
Right.
But she's the complete opposite. And I have to take a step back and really think about that and be like, you know, I can't handle you both the same because you are so different. So different. Yeah.
And going back to prayer, I literally, like, children, it's crazy how much you remember from, like, when you were 3 years old, but I don't remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday. Like, that is wild to me. But literally, I remember when I was little, and obviously still to this day, you still do this every day. But I remember when I was little, if I would you'd wake up like 6 a.m. before we got up and went to school, and you'd be sitting in the living room praying, drinking your coffee, praying, reading, studying. And, like, I remember that, and that has implanted in me, like, I don't think we've ever really talked about, like, this, but, like, was implanted in me at such a young age. And, like, I still remember that. And literally every day you would drive us to, like, elementary school, you'd pray, like, I'm the head, I'm not the tail. God will bring
you're
great
above
men
only,
before
not
you.
beneath.
Yeah.
You will stand before great men. Your gifts will make room for you. You are blessed and highly favored.
Like, literally, that was the same prayer.
Speaking those words of life.
Like, and she prayed, and she still prays that over us, but literally, but we don't drive together anymore a lot. But, like, every single day she would take us to school, she would literally pray that with us, and we would all say it together. And so that's something that has, like, stuck with me is, like, all that. I know, like, this is gonna be a super emotional episode, but it's okay.
Like,
but seriously, like, and that's just what I'm saying. Like, those things stick with you, and, like, I just want to let you know, like, that has made that has made an impact on me, and Kaylee will probably never say it, but it's made an impact on her too.
Yeah, she'll never be.
She'll never admit it, but you know,
she's not the emotional mushy gushy.
There's so much power in a praying mother, because mother's prayers, you know. Like, no one's going to pray for your children as much as you pray for them. No one's going to love your children as much as you love them. So, you know. And I just know that from experience.
Things. Right. Like, you know, he just reveals things in those moments of prayer. And, like, when I was pregnant with you, a friend gave me The Power of a Praying Mother. Plug, get that book. Also crazy. Get The Power of a Praying Wife. Like, those books are amazing.
Yeah.
And in it, because there are times that you go through things that you have no words. Yeah. Like, you're just like, God, I don't even know what to pray.
Right. I don't know what's going on.
Open this book. And now I just recently, because she just wrote one, The Power of Praying for Your Adult Children. Which I just got, because
it's like hitting every season that you're in.
it is. And like, I highly recommend those books for real, because it covers everything.
Right.
And in those seasons and in those times where you don't have the words to pray, there is a prayer in there, and it prays the scripture. Yeah. Like, it prays the scriptures. It speaks that life over you. And, you know, like, there was a time when, I don't remember if it was you or Kaylee, but one of you was, like, scared, and you were struggling sleeping at night. And I was like, you know, I had prayed and prayed and prayed, and we would pray for sweet dreams and all the things, and it just didn't seem to be working. And I opened that book, and it addresses that. Yeah. And praying over your bedroom, and going in, you know, and praying those scriptures over your bedroom. But, like, those books have been huge for me in the times when I didn't know what to pray.
Yeah. And then you'll have those times where, I mean, obviously, I have those moments where I'm like, God, I literally don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to pray, but, like, help me, you know? Yep. And so those are all the very good resources to have, especially as a mom, how to, like, navigate all that. So were you scared to become a mom?
I was not.
You were not scared? Okay.
I was not scared. Yeah. Now, I was excited to become a mom.
Yeah.
Like, I always wanted to be a mother. I think maybe because I had such strong examples of good mothers, and, like, my Meemaw and my Grandma Phillips and, you know, my Aunt Pat, like, they were all great mothers. And so I think that I had such strong examples. Like, I wanted to be like them.
Yes.
And so I was not afraid. I was more afraid, honestly, and this is funny, of selecting your name.
Really?
Like, there's
that's
so
a big
much
thing, though.
Pressure.
There's so much pressure on a name, though.
Like, I'm not afraid to become a mom and raise you, and, you know, like,
is she gonna have the right name?
But there's so much pressure in naming a kid, because your name says a lot about you first, you know, but it can't be too old lady-ish when you're a kid, but it can't be too young, kiddish when you're an adult. Yeah. Like, there's a lot that comes with naming a kid. Yeah. So I was more worried. I know that's crazy. I was more worried about that than becoming a mom.
Okay, let's talk about the names for a bit. So kind of go through how you chose both of our names, me and Kaylee's names.
Okay. So your name, Danielle Renee. So you are named after your Uncle Daniel and me. My middle name is Renee.
And Uncle Daniel's your brother.
And Uncle Daniel's my brother. We lost him when he was 17 to a brain tumor. And so through him and his final wish to meet Mark Lowry is how I actually met Danielle's. Well, I didn't meet him that night, but I saw him for the first time. Thought I was losing my mind. They opened for Mark Lowry.
Starstruck.
And I was not the groupie kind of person, but like they walked out. He's an identical triplet.
She's talking about my dad right now.
Yes, her daddy. And they were dressed exactly alike. Their hair's the same.
And back then, like they are identical. Like now they have different hairstyles. They look more different now. Back then though, they were literally identical. Like it was crazy how much they look alike.
So we're in Atlanta, Georgia, in this huge church. They sit us on the front row, and I'll never forget the twang of King's Highway. And I'm not a Southern gospel girl, but I learned to love it.
Yeah.
When my husband sang it, I learned to love it.
Right.
But I'll never forget because like the way the song started, Uncle Luke came out, then Uncle Mark came out. I never even batted an eye.
Right.
And then your dad came out.
And you're like, oh,
and I was just like,
that's my man.
And like my eyes did not leave him. And they played the nut in the shell game. They're all over the stage, whatever. And my eyes never left him. But we didn't meet that night. My little brother met Mark Lowry and all the things. And then, of course, Uncle Daniel passed away about 2 weeks later. And so he never got to meet your dad. But when we got married and we got pregnant, Daddy was like, I want to name our first kid after Daniel.
Aww.
And so, and I know you're so glad you weren't a boy because it would have been John Daniel.
Let's talk about this.
After Dad and my daddy, your
that's,
papa, and,
it's cute, whatever.
And Uncle Daniel.
But John Daniel? Really?
If she had been a boy, she was John Daniel.
Like, it just sounds like I should be, and no offense to anyone named John Daniel, but it sounds like I should be driving a tractor out somewhere.
That's John Deere.
John Deere, it's literally almost the same thing. That's what I'm saying. It's cute because it's like family, but I'm very glad I'm a female.
It was Daddy, your papa, your Uncle Daniel.
Yeah, that's cute.
All the things.
Anyways,
and then if she was a girl,
though, so we're good.
Yeah, if she was a girl, it was Danielle.
And then Renee is her middle name.
Yeah, so that's how she got her name. Yeah. And then Kaylee. We always just loved the name Kaylee. Like, honestly, when I first started thinking about names for kids, I wanted Kaylee Danielle. Yeah, that was my name. I'd picked that name out. And then Daddy wanted it, and I was like, oh, that's so perfect.
Yeah.
Because it was Uncle Daniel, and, you know, how God orchestrated all that for us to meet each other through him. And so he wanted to honor Uncle Daniel in that, and I was all about it. And so for Kaylee, we loved Kaylee, and we were like, well, we need a family name. And I would have loved to have named her after Meemaw. But Meemaw's name was Miriam Linnell, which I love that name. But we wanted to name her Kaylee. But Kaylee Miriam did not go. And Kaylee Linnell, that was too many you know.
Kaylee Linnell.
So that didn't fit.
Right.
So we went with Kaylee Elizabeth. And Elizabeth was my Meemaw's grandmother's name. And she was a very special person to my Meemaw. So in honor of my Meemaw, we named her Kaylee Elizabeth.
I love that. I love the family names. Because like, for me, most likely I will probably do like new names for the first names, and then like I love family names for like the middle names. I think that's so cute. Obviously, my husband he'll probably have a say in the names, I guess. But
I know. I used to say that, and then your dad named you, okay? Right? And like he actually picked.
I guess he can have a say.
Kaylee, so
anyways, that's really cool. I love how our names kind of came to be. So were you scared for the? I don't know if this is the right word. Like scared. Was it more difficult for like the first child or the second child, or like was it more difficult or more scary with like having me? I know you said you weren't scared to become a mom, but like, was it more difficult like having a second child or like just being an only child?
Yes.
The second child?
The second child.
Okay.
And here's why. Because with having just you,
and it's probably different for
you got all
each
of our
family
attention.
And stuff. Yeah, that's true.
And you got all of our attention. You were Grammy's first. You were Meemaw's first great. Yeah, like all the first, great granddaughter. All these things. And so,
and the first triplet
child. The first triplet child. So there were all these first. So you were doted on, and so with Kaylee coming around, when we were first pregnant, they thought she was a twin.
Oh, shoot. Bro, that'd be so awesome. But also, they would team up.
Well, yeah, it's a good thing we didn't. Because, Lord. 2 Kayleys, can you imagine? I mean, I love Kaylee, but 2 Kayleys.
2 of them?
So they thought she was a twin. And all I could think is, what is that going to do to you?
Yeah.
Like, you have been our world, and everything has been all about you. Yeah. And then not only are we going to have 1, we're going to have 2. And I know what a hard transition that was for like grandma with Uncle Matt and then Mark, Luke, and John. Like that was incredibly difficult. And so, that crossed my mind. But also with 1, you got all of the attention.
Yeah. You have to balance anything.
And so finding that balance.
Yeah.
And then going, how can the question I think every parent of more than 1 child asks, how am I going to love another as much as I love this one?
Yeah.
But then you have that baby and you're like, your heart just doubles in size and you love them just as much. And, I know you'd probably say more. I knew that was coming. And
we'll get to that later, guys.
She thinks that you're the favorite. And
bro, Kaylee, okay. You think I'm the favorite, Kaylee? Whatever. Anyways.
But yeah, I would say the second time around.
Right, it was a little bit.
I was more
probably
scared.
Probably just finding the balance, I guess, of like, how am I gonna make sure there's no favoritism, or like, even though there is no favoritism, like how am I gonna make them both feel loved and appreciated? And even at Christmas, like we have the exact same amount of presents. She counts even to this day. She's like the exact same amount of presents, basically the same amount of money spent. Like literally, it all balances out. So there's just no question, and we know we always make jokes about it, but we know we are obviously treated very fairly. But
I have a favorite oldest daughter and a favorite youngest.
Yeah, that's daughter. What she says. And anyways, so what was the hardest thing that you've had to go through as a mom, and kind of how? And I'm sure there's a lot of like obviously just like trials and things you've had to kind of go through. But like, what was like one of the hardest moments, and kind of how did you overcome that, and you and Dad kind of get past that?
I'll do.
You can do one for each.
Yeah, I'll do one for each of you, and then So for you, when we conceived you, the day we're praying for a little girl, I always wanted 2 boys and a girl because that's what I was. So I wanted boy, girl, boy.
Yeah.
And I wanted a girl sandwiched in the middle of the 2 boys because that's what I was. Yeah. I mean, best of both worlds. I had an older brother, a younger brother. It was perfect. Cool. Like, it was amazing. And then all their friends, which when you get older is a little much because everybody has to filter through them. Is it okay? Can you date this person? Yeah.
I love
so
that.
There's a lot of
protection.
So and like, Uncle Joey, like all of them.
You had
like,
all. Yes. No one was no one was messing with you.
No,
Let me just say that.
So
no one was not going to mess with her.
A lot of people were quite intimidated because your Uncle Steven's huge, and
Joey,
then Uncle Joey's just as big. So
massive people.
Yeah. So, we found out, God's answered our prayers, and we're gonna have this beautiful little girl. And then we're told that there were some issues on the ultrasound, and that you could have Down syndrome. And so we had to go see a specialist to see. And when we walked in, we have this like super long ultrasound, and we go in and sit down with the doctor, and he starts in with, I really think you need to abort this baby. Like he really pushed. I get emotional.
I'm
talking
about
emotional
this. Too. It's crazy.
Like it was so surreal, and he was like, you don't want to deal with that, like all the medical problems, all the issues, it's not something you want to deal with, and we can do an amnio. You can come in on a lunch break and do an amnio, but the problem with that is you can introduce infection. You don't want to go through all that. It would just be better if you just ended this pregnancy. And I remember in that moment sitting there going, is he really, like, we've not discussed the ultrasound, we've not discussed it, like he was just all in, you need to abort this baby. I mean, hardcore. Yeah. I cannot imagine if I were sitting there with absolutely no hope, not knowing the Lord, like the fear that was being thrown upon me in that moment. I just can't imagine. And Daddy looked at him and he was like, well, what about the ultrasound that you saw today? And he was like, I can't pull up the other ultrasound. I can only read the report. And from what I'm seeing, like it's less than 1 in 100 chance, like this baby's most likely Down syndrome. And you just don't want that burden. And I'm like, well, first off, it wouldn't be a burden. I mean, kids with Down syndrome are some of the happiest kids I've ever met. Would it be a little more difficult? Yeah, but still. But Daddy's like, what about this ultrasound? And he was like, well, honestly, from what I see today, you have a perfectly healthy baby. All the things that they said were in the other ultrasound have
Right.
you know, like your kidneys were enlarged and the ventricles in your brain were still showing as cysts, and apparently you have cysts, and then they go into ventricles. Well, they had turned into so everything was perfect.
Yeah.
But in that moment, he wanted us to just end it, like
Yeah.
just agree to an abortion. Let's just be done. And then after you were born, you spit up. And when I say spit up, I mean like we could sit you up and you could hit the wall on the other side of the room. Crazy
Right.
spit up. And I knew something wasn't right. And so we went to the hospital. The doctor, you know, your dad and I looked like we were 15 when we had you. And he was like, you know, this is ridiculous. You're wasting my time. Like our pediatrician had sent us there because they thought you might have RSV. And so we're scared to death. And he was like, you're wasting our time. Like this, there's a difference in a sick baby and a happy sick baby.
Yeah.
And she's happy sick. And I suggest you learn that over the next 18 years. Well, over the next week, like you couldn't keep food down.
Yeah.
You were just getting sicker and sicker. And so we're back at the hospital and we find out you have pyloric stenosis. Had we in that moment of listened to that doctor, and I had not trusted my instinct like that, and I know, you know, that was the Holy Spirit. Just, I knew something was wrong with my baby.
Yeah.
So mamas, listen to that. It's spot
Right.
on every time.
Right.
You would have died. Like you would have died. And then they're looking at me, and I mean, we have an amazing pediatrician, and he met us at the hospital and walked through all of that with us.
Yeah.
And then we had to go to Vanderbilt. You had to have surgery at 4 weeks old.
Saw the scar,
it was,
man.
yes, it was traumatizing. It was awful. And if it had
4
not
weeks
have been,
old, that's
you
crazy.
know, for like our hope in Jesus and an army of people just praying for us and praying for you, like we would never have gotten through it without our faith and our hope in Jesus. And I think about people that are sitting there and don't have that. How many babies have been aborted?
Right. Well, and the fact that like literally they, before I was even born, like
Yeah,
they wanted you to have an abortion.
Satan was 100% after you before you were born,
and then I'm 4
tried to
weeks
take you.
old,
Yeah.
and then
And
having
you
all these
almost died.
problems, and I almost died.
You almost died. It's crazy.
Crazy, bro.
And
but,
then
but like to have you and dad like have so much faith, and I mean, because I can't even imagine like what that felt like
I mean, here God
before I
just
was born and like
answered-
right after I was
Yeah.
born, after you just had like you know, God just answered your prayers.
We had dear friends
now all
like
this.
Greg and Brandy, and I mean, they were praying over you and praying for us, and you know, like our church family, you know,
Yeah.
everybody praying, and you know, it just without our faith and that hope in Jesus, we would never have made it.
Yeah.
And like I look at you now, and I think, what if I'd listened? What if? You know.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then with Kaylee, when Kaylee was 4 weeks old, same thing. She
Dang,
quit
so
eating.
4 weeks old, man.
I know. Like,
Lord,
she
what's going on?
She quit eating. Like, would not eat. We're like 18 hours, and she was not interested. Wouldn't suck a passy. Wouldn't take a bottle. Nothing. Grammy's like, okay, this isn't normal. You know, we go to the doctor, and the pediatrician that was on call that day was like, this is not good. Like, you need to get her to Vanderbilt, and you need to go immediately. Something is not right. And so we go, and they're running literally every test under the sun, like every test under the sun. And they're bringing in all these specialists that deal with neonatal babies that are too young to suckle, and all the, you know, doing all the tricks. She was not having any of it. Like, wouldn't suck a bottle, with nothing, and nothing was working. And so they came in and they explained to us that she most likely had a metabolic disorder. They were going to test her for pyloric stenosis, but they really felt like she had a metabolic disorder, and so she wasn't able to absorb nutrients. And basically, she was just going to die. There wasn't much that they could do for her. And but they did want to take her down and check her for pyloric stenosis because you had it. But that's very unusual because pyloric stenosis is never seen in girls. It's incredibly rare to be in girls. It's usually in the firstborn male, and it usually runs in families.
Yeah.
We had none of that with you. So that's why it took so long to diagnose you, because you didn't fit any of the symptoms.
Right.
But that when you had it, they immediately went there with your sister. And so we went, and we're there with you. We go down to the, you were with Uncle Mark and Aunt Jonna, and Grammy went with us, and we went down to have the ultrasound. And while we were there, our pastors at the time, Brian and Darla Hughes, and their son Brad, came, and they came and they joined hands and prayed with Grammy over you, and I mean over Kaylee. And when we got back, Kaylee immediately took a bottle. Like,
wow.
all the things the doctors are like, and like, granted, they have run every test under the sun, and they were convinced that that's what she had. And I am 100% convinced in that moment that Kaylee did indeed, something was wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But I do believe in that moment of prayer, God touched her and healed her. Because literally we come back in the room and she's taken a bottle. She's back to her perky, happy self. And because Kaylee was a happy baby. And all the doctors are like, well, we're going to keep you because like they didn't know
just
what
to make
to
sure
think
like
about that. And we're like, well, that's just the power of prayer. And they're like, well, maybe she just had a cold. She wasn't even stuffy. You know, and
no, but like, don't you tell me he can't do it though. Don't you tell me he can't do it.
100%. It was a miracle.
I mean, one thing after the other.
100%.
Look at that.
It was a miracle.
Wow.
And so that's probably and there again, prayer.
Yeah.
Our faith, just standing on the promises of God is what got us through. But I think, you know, and those I thought were the hardest times. And now here I am as a mom of an adult.
Yeah.
And a senior. She's finishing junior year, starting her senior year. And in this next stage of life that nobody prepares you for.
Yeah.
The last. And I'm going to probably get emotional talking about it because, you know, it came so fast.
Yeah.
And so here I'm at the part of, do I really believe all that I've taught you your whole life? That God's got his hand on you. He's got a plan and he's got a purpose and a destiny. And he's going to order your steps. And he's going to take you to accomplish the plan and purpose and destiny that I have told you he had for you your whole life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You were first
his.
He entrusted us to raise you. And here we are at that moment where we have to release you back into the world and trust he's going to be faithful to do what he said.
Right.
And in this moment, do we really believe what we've always taught you? And I can't help but to think about, like, this brings me back to one of my favorite Bible stories as a kid was Moses. And his mom. And I always loved it, and I can still see it in my little Bible storybook that Grammy would read me, the little basket sitting in the reeds, and how his mom protected him as long as she could.
Yeah.
And how when she realized she could no longer protect him, she had to trust the Lord was going to be faithful. And so she built that little basket and she sat him in the river, knowing that river could drown him. Right. And chances were, it was going to drown him.
Mom, that's crazy.
And God kept his hands on,
right now.
I know, right? Like,
you're preaching
on little
right now.
Moses, and he took little Moses down the river, and only God could take him right to the princess and take him from a poor little, you know, kid to a palace.
Yeah.
And his sister's there, and his sister's like, I know somebody. And she goes and gets the mom, and the mom gets to raise Moses, but Moses becomes a prince. And how, you know, my life verse is Romans 8:28. And we know God works all things together for good. Yeah. So what Satan intended for evil was going to kill all the little boys. Yeah. You know, she trusted God was going to protect her son.
Absolutely.
And she put all of her faith in him and sent him down that river. And then the princess takes him and he becomes a prince.
Right.
And then he delivers the people. And how in that moment, God was faithful to honor her and her faith in him doing the right thing. And so here I am with my little basket, sitting you guys like, in the weeds, in the reeds in the Nile River, trusting that he's going to keep his hand on you and take you, and that he's going to draw you out of the river at just the right moment. Yeah. And so it's not easy. Yeah. It is not easy to be in this stage of life. Like when you were little, I could protect you. Right. You know, I could shelter you from the world and all that, but I have to remember that you were always his first. You know. So anyway, there's my preaching moment.
No, for real. Like, girls over here preaching. I'm like, okay, Pastor.
That has always been like my favorite Bible story.
No, it's so good.
But as a mom now, I can so relate to the fear that she had to feel in that moment. Yeah. But to step out in faith, to lay that basket in that river, knowing any number of things could have gone wrong.
Absolutely.
But only God.
Only God could take him trust him in that moment. And absolutely.
So here we are in that moment, trusting that God's going to be faithful and that everything I've told you and taught you all your life, that I'm going to stand on that and know that he's going to be true to his word. Yeah. So there's that.
Man. Oh my gosh, man. Okay, podcast's over, guys. Have a good rest of your day. No, for real, that's so good though. Just like literally trusting God, and that's with everything we do, like
and
with
it's
parenting.
Hard, man.
And it's so hard, and it's hard to like trust in a God who you cannot physically see. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's this thing you cannot physically see, but like just believing. Yes. True faith is believing without seeing, to know that he's going to take care of it, and he's, you know, everything's going to be okay. So you're a kids ministry director.
Yes.
So, and you've been in kids ministry for so long, since I can remember. So how has that kind of like influenced your parenting, if at all? But like, kind of just being in kids ministry for so long and just keeping us and volunteering in the church and stuff, man. We've always been at the church from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. every Sunday, you know, for 2 services and stuff. How has that kind of influenced us as a family and kind of as your parenting?
I think the best part of that, like being in kids ministry, and because when you guys were little, we were the preschool ministry directors, so we taught junior kids every week, first and second service, and Sunday school when we had Sunday school, and we taught Royal Rangers. We did like Ranger night stuff. So any couples that are interested, Ranger Kids is a great place to get plugged in.
Yo, hit her up.
But we got to be a part of not only laying your spiritual foundation in the home, but in the church.
In the church, yeah.
And that is so special to me. Like, I didn't realize it at the time because it's just something we did and we loved and all. But now I look at it and I'm like, wow, what an honor it was to get to serve you every single Sunday. Yep. You know, we'd get here at 7:30 in the morning. We might not leave till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But one of the most special things about that is like getting to see, because when you're in those classrooms, especially in those preschool classrooms, you get to see those gifts in their earliest, rawest forms. Yeah. Like, you get to see those worship leaders. You get to see those prayer warriors.
Right.
Like, I mean, we saw miracles, kids laying hands at 3 years old, you know, and we got to be a part of those times in your life and help lay that spiritual foundation. But not just that, like, you know, of course, I always did like the big outreach events, the fall festival and the egg hunt and BB, all the things. And so at the time I didn't work at the church, so everything would be at our house.
Yeah.
And
we still got a shed and garage full of kids ministry stuff.
So for like 6 weeks before an event, our house looked like the event had thrown up in it. And
yes, indeed,
it was an opportunity for you guys. And this is something I learned early on, because I prayed from conception, that God would show us your gifts at an early age, and so that we could help foster and help you grow in those gifts. And I'll never forget, one day, it was before Kaylee was born, and I'm in the laundry room, I'm putting the laundry, and you come crawling over, like you weren't even walking, and you come crawling over, you pull up on the dryer, and you wanted to help me put every individual piece of laundry.
And that was the last time I wanted to do laundry.
A to the men on that. I maybe should have fostered that a little more, because it was. But
I think that's the last time I've ever done the laundry. So.
I remember in that moment thinking, good heavens, if she would just like go back in the living room, play with her toy, I could get this over with. And God spoke to me so clearly in that moment, and he was like, you prayed to see her gifts, and I am showing you that she is a servant. I have placed a servant's heart inside of her.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, if it takes 2 hours, we'll do every individual piece of laundry to get in there. But in that moment, I learned to let you serve, even as a young child.
Absolutely.
So like when I would be planning these events, you girls from, 3, 4, 5 years old are there helping me do it all. Then like the day of, you're 4 or 5 years old, taking candy to the different trunks, setting up games, helping run games. Like, you guys
VBS set build week was my favorite week, because we'd spend a whole week at the church and setting up for VBS.
You basically lived at the church, because back in those days I would go turn the junior kids room into whatever theme we were doing. So you would be up here, and I'll never forget, like, y'all were running in the halls one day.
We have a cot
and and I'm like, girls, stop running. And Pastor Eddie stopped me, and he was like, this should be a happy place. They should be as happy to be in this church as they are to be at home.
Yeah.
So let that be their happy, safe place. And if they want to come talk to me, let them come knock on my door, you know, because I'd always be like, don't bother Pastor Eddie, because you especially love to go talk to Pastor Eddie. Kaylee loved to go get candy. You love to go talk to Pastor Eddie.
I do remember that. Like, literally when we were kids, like, we would, like, all the kids would go to Pastor Eddie's office right after service and to get candy. And I would literally go in there and I'd be like, so Pastor Eddie, about that sermon today, and we just talk about like his sermon, like
you would at like 6, 7 years old,
like just having like deeper
conversations. Y'all would have deep conversations.
Oh my gosh, that's
but
awesome.
In being a part of kids ministry and planning these events and all that, and even the lessons, like, y'all would help, and then so you would
I remember I wanted
go
to teach
to
the
your
lesson
service,
so bad.
and then you would come and you would help us. And sometimes you did help with teaching the lesson, or
doing like worship or motions or something.
Yeah, you would always help with motions, or you guys might serve in one of the nursery classrooms as as an extra set of hands. But learning that you could serve in an early age, you didn't have to wait till you were 18 or an adult, and you could operate.
God can use you. God can use you right now.
Absolutely, like you could operate in your gift, because the Bible's clear that when he knit us together in our mother's womb, he placed those gifts inside of us.
Yes.
We don't have a junior Holy Spirit. We don't have a junior gift. Are you going to grow in that gift and mature in that gift? Absolutely. Yes. At 3 years old, are you going to be
preaching
as good at your gift as you are at 30 years old? Absolutely not. But because I was in kids ministry, and I am in kids ministry, I was able to see the importance of investing in that at an early age, and not just looking at it as,
oh, they're just kids.
Yeah, they're just kids, because that's usually the thing. But like Ava Douglas, that girl is an
shout
intercessor.
out Ava, we love you.
Like, yes, Ava, love. She could pray down, like that kid could lay a prayer on you at 3 years old, unlike any adult I'd ever heard pray.
Yeah.
Like, and she always wanted to pray, and so we would give her the opportunity. Or even, Corbin Boyles, evangelist. I remember the day 5 years old, hey, can I give the invitation? And he literally led his friends and classmates to the Lord at 5 years old in the junior kids classroom. And so we got to be a part of all of that, and so it made us value that and not just, push it aside and say, well, when you're 18 or, when you're 21 or when you go off on your own. Yeah.
Just like knowing God's going to use your gifts.
Like, and thankfully, we're in a church that values that and looks, doesn't look at our kids like that. But I valued that, and I am so thankful that I did serve.
Yes.
And I did get to help lay that foundation. And I knew what you were learning in church, and I could follow up with that at home. And you could help be a voice in that.
Well, and from a young age, like with seeing you and Dad being so involved in church, like that made us want to have a servant's heart too. And so now, like me and Kate, like we look for ways. Absolutely, like. Kaylee
every
too,
week.
But every week I'm doing something. And it's not even just because I work here. I was doing that before, way before I started working here. And it's not even because I'm trying to impress anybody. It's literally because I love serving so much.
Well, you guys,
because of you and the foundation that you've built for us.
Like, it's
leading
so
by
important.
Example.
Get your kids to church and let them serve. Like today, back in the day, we didn't have childcare at every single thing. So you guys had to, and your dad and I were in charge of things. So it wasn't like we got to stay at home, when we had whatever. So you guys came and you served alongside us. But now I see the benefit in that. And I could have easily looked at it, well, she's 3, she can't do that. And what a headache. And it's hard. Yeah. It's hard when you're little like that, because you don't have the attention span and all the things. But because we did it, now as an adult and as, a junior, senior going on, you girls look for places to serve.
Absolutely.
Like, you live to serve.
Yeah.
You love it. Literally. And you're not looking for the spotlight.
Live to serve.
Like, you two are doing things. And Mayla Davis, she's another one that grew up right beside you guys, coming to all these events with mom and dad. And you're all serving, but you look for places to serve. Yeah. Your heart is to serve.
We're committed.
And it's not in, some people are looking to serve in the spotlight. You girls are doing things that nobody knows about. Yeah. Every single week.
Behind the scenes stuff.
Every single week. And there are others. It's not, but I see a difference in the kids who were brought to these things and served alongside their parents, even when everybody, parents included, may have thought they were too young. The ones that did it, and mom and dad made it a priority, and the ones who didn't. It's night and day. It's so important. Yeah. Be the example.
Absolutely.
Be the example.
100%. Okay, so now that you are, you're on staff as our kids ministry director, and I'm on staff too. Let's talk about just for a little bit how just kind of balancing being mother-daughter and also being co-workers at the same time. Yes. And it's a new season, it's a new thing, so let's just talk about that for a little bit.
It's hard. It's not easy. I try to look at it when we're in this building. I will always be your mother first, always. Yes. But when we're in this building, I try to look at it as a co-worker relationship. And what I mean by that is, like, you've had situations where Mama Bear wanted to come out. I wanted to jump in and fix things and like set things straight and all that. But I've had to allow you to do that and look at you as a coworker that I would not jump into their situation.
Right.
Or if you worked at Walmart or Amazon or, Burger King or whatever, and you're having a problem at work, Mama Bear's not going to bust up in there and fix your problem. You've got to learn to navigate that.
Yes.
And so that's hard because when you're mom, you want to protect your baby.
Yeah.
And so, having to watch that and guard that and, because like I said, if you worked somewhere else, I would not step in.
Yeah.
You
wouldn't have the same opportunity.
I would not have the same opportunity. However, like, I love it. I know it's a season and it's probably not going to last forever as much as I would love to. I'm, going to cherish every moment of getting to not only work with you, but serve alongside you.
Absolutely. I've really, really enjoyed being here.
Yes.
And this is where I'm at, it's just really good as far as like job, but like, just being able to work with you has just been like such a plus. And it's just like, I feel like a lot of people's dreams, being able to work with your mom, like one of your best friends. Like, so like if I am having a hard day or something, I can literally go to you and just like take a break and be like, Mom, just like, because, and I don't have to wait till I get home. It's just a safe place
and
to
vice versa. Cause I can come to you when I'm having a moment and I know I can't go to anybody else. Like, I'm upset, whatever, and I need to say something, and I don't want to say it to the wrong person or come off and be ugly. Or I can come to you and take a deep breath, and then
we're like, we're good, we're good. It's
and then
Jesus.
we're good.
It's for Jesus.
It is, and keeping that, because working in the church, it's not easy.
It's not.
It is not easy. Like,
someone
people
told
think,
you it's easy, they probably don't work in
they're
ministry.
not in ministry, and they don't work at a church.
Let me tell you.
No, it's not, because you deal with the flesh. We're all human.
Yeah.
And you deal with the flesh, and the flesh isn't always pretty. And we don't always make the right choices and whatever. And,
all of us,
and
including
you wouldn't
us,
think twice about that.
Yeah.
In the secular workplace, but it's taken so different in the church and in ministry. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's something we're navigating it and we're learning. It's a new season, and I'm gonna cherish every moment of the time that I get with you, because I mean, I don't know how long that will last, and I'm loving every second. I am blessed.
Yeah. This is a huge honor and blessing for us to be able to have this opportunity.
I raised you. You were raised in this church. Half of these people here
held me as a baby.
Held you as a baby. They have prayed for you. They have loved you. They have watched you grow up, and and now you get to serve on staff, and so it's an honor. It's a privilege.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, we're incredibly blessed to be able to do it.
So. Absolutely. All right, so if you could do it all over again, would you? If you could go back right now to the day that I was born and do it all over again, would you do it?
Yes, 100% yes. I'm not gonna cry. I have loved every second of being a mom. I have, and I would go back, not to change anything.
Okay.
Not to change anything,
but to relive those moments. And
to cherish every single one of them. To be present in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, I would cherish all the little things, because you don't always know when the last is. So, and what I mean by that is, I would leave the laundry in the basket and make the memory. Right. I would leave the dishes in the sink and make the memory. Because I can't go back and get the time with you.
Yeah.
I can always wash clothes another day.
Yeah.
So I would go back and cherish the little things, because nobody prepares you for the last. And I would treat everything like the last. Like, I didn't know the last time you were going to reach out for my hand because you weren't steady on your feet. I didn't know when that was going to be.
Right.
I didn't know the last time that I was going to pick you or your sister up in my arms and get to carry you. And so I would cherish every moment like it was the last. Because you hear the saying, and people, that have been there and done that will tell you it goes by so fast. But when you're in that moment, it's like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get through the terrible threes? Is it ever going to be over?
Terrible
like
twos.
A mom the other day when we had the movie night, she ran by chasing her son out of the theater, and she's like, I just cannot wait for this stage to get over. And when she walked out, I was like, oh, sister, there's going to come a day when you would give anything to be chasing your son out of this theater at 3 years old. Like, right now, you don't want to. And I remember those days. But in my stage of life, where it's time to release you into the world, I would give anything to go back and realize that was a special moment. Even though in that moment, I would have been irritated and like, oh, and like they say, the days are long, but the years are short. And they really,
so
really are.
So true.
Like, it is so true. And you don't realize it until you get on this side of it. So, yeah, I would go back, but I wouldn't change anything. I would be slower to anger. I would watch my words more. And, you know, like I said earlier, there have been times I've said things to you and your sister that I've had to go back and apologize for, because I want you to realize I'm not perfect. I make mistakes.
Yeah.
And
you're not perfect?
Well,
you're not perfect? Okay, I just want... everybody heard that right. She's not perfect. Okay, just want to make sure everyone heard that.
I make mistakes, but I wanted you to know that even as a kid, I valued you and respected you enough to ask for your forgiveness.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
In those moments, and to own my mistakes.
Once again, leading by example.
Leading by example, and that's not easy. When and so many times,
because you have to humble yourself before your own child.
Before your own child.
To do that.
Yeah, and some people would say, well, that, you know, they're going to think they have, you know, no, that you need but you need to see that I'm human too, and that just like you make mistakes, I make mistakes. And you should own your mistakes, apologize, and grow and learn from them. And so, you know, I would. That's one thing I would do is to be slower to anger. But other than that, I wouldn't change anything other than cherishing every single moment. Yeah. And living it like it's the last. Yeah. You know, because you know, as hard as it is, the last day you're going to drive your kid to school because they're getting their license. Yeah. You know, the last day of school because they're graduating, or the last lunch you're going to pack. But you don't know the last time you're going to take them up in your lap, or the last time you're going to pick them up and carry them, or the last time you're going to crawl over and reach. You know, you don't know those. Or the last time you're going to feed them a bottle. You know, cherish every moment. Yeah. Or the last time your kid's going to get up and run out of the movie theater. You know, because they're 3 and it's hard to sit through a movie at 3 years old. But cherish that moment. Cherish that moment, because you will miss it. Absolutely. You will miss it.
Man, this has been so much fun, but I'm going to be honest, I got one more final question for you, and this is the most important question out of all of this. Who's your favorite child?
Everybody knows who my favorite child is, and we're going to leave it at that.
Okay. Yes, we all do know who your favorite child. Oh my God.
I have 2 favorite children. I have a favorite oldest child and a favorite youngest child.
No, y'all heard what she said first, though. Y'all heard what she said first, though. She said, y'all know who my favorite child is. We're just going to leave it at that. Okay, that's fine. We're going to leave it at that. We all know. Okay. Anyways, so, man, this was so much fun. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I really have enjoyed it. It's been fun.
Thank you for having me.
A little walk down memory lane.
Like, a walk down memory lane. And then to realize that, like,
I do appreciate
all the little things. Like,
you have impacted me a little bit, you know.
Yes.
You've kind of rubbing off. So, yeah. But yeah, I love you, Mom.
I love you.